Hey everybody, it's Cassandra McClure here, and I'm here to clear up a few rumors and put a few things straight. Today marks the 213,000 views that I have gotten on my video that I made from the trip that I went with Dan Blizerian. He is a nice guy, and I'm going to go over exactly how I know him, how I met him, and my encounters with him and his friends, just to clear everything up, because there's been some very rude comments that I've been getting on the YouTube. I know that it wasn't the best video, but I didn't have my camera out during all the fun moments, but I'll get to that. First, I will say how I met Dan. I was on an interview for Playboy where I met again Sam Rima. You can verify him through social media. He is a marketing director and consultant for Playboy, and I went to an interview and met him and his girlfriend. He later introduced me to Dan through mutual friends, and I went with my roommate. I had a boyfriend, by the way. This was in October of 2013. We went to the party at Dan's house, which we were invited. All the Playgirls were invited, and that's when I met Dan. It was totally by chance. There was about 20 or 30 of us, and I'm going to put pictures in the video just because I want to and to prove everyone wrong. So Sam Rima invited me to a party. I didn't know it was Dan Bilzerian. I don't even know who he was, and I frankly didn't care. We all went to this Halloween party, all dressed up, and there was Dan and a few other guys there, and I was like, oh, whose house is this? This is very beautiful. It was up on top of the hills in Beverly Hills in LA, and Dan was like, oh, it's my place, da-da-da, and he started talking to me and asked what I did. At that time, I worked for 838 Media Group. Ash Gupta is the photographer there, and I was working as an art director. And I had told him that we were currently shooting a music video and that we were working on a fashion film, and we were doing a lot of photo shoots and things like that. And he's like, oh, if you ever, want to use my place, you can. I use it for movies. I'm an actor. I do this, that, the other thing. And I was like, really? That's really cool. Like, we would love to use this location. I called Dan 2 weeks later, and my whole entire production crew went up and shot Dakmani clothing, which you can also confirm that I walked for her in a fashion show, and I scheduled this whole entire meeting for us to shoot Dakmani clothing. 838 Media Group, the company that I worked for, shot there, and from there, Dan really liked me. I had, 5 models walking around in bikinis, and I was doing the hair and makeup for these girls. They were getting shot by Ash and the rest of the 838 Media Group team. And out on his pool, on his deck, overlooking LA, it was gorgeous, beautiful day. I can name all the girls that were there, but that's irrelevant. Charles Campos was even a model, male model that was there. Anyways, after that, I hadn't talked to Dan. We had kept in loose touch, just text, and I told him that my boyfriend and I were going out, and he had invited us up, and we never had met up again until he invited me on his jet to go to Mexico. And my boyfriend was like, I read about Dan. I don't think you should go. I think they party a lot. I don't really think it's going to be good, healthy for our relationship if you go with this guy. And I was like, well, I mean, he's nice, and I don't think he parties, and I see these things about him online, but look what people say online about me. And he's like, you know what, you're right. I shouldn't make judgments about somebody that I don't know, and he seems like a nice guy. He let you work there, and he never made moves on you or your friends, and things like that. And I was like, thank you. So I invited my other friends, and Christina Deja, she's an international model. You can look her up too. She ended up meeting me there, getting dropped off in a Bentley, of course, and we met up, and that's where I met Jay Farber. We were at Dan's house before we all got in a limo to go to the private jet at the airport in LA to go to Mexico, and there were some other people that don't want to be mentioned, but that's where I met Jay, and Dan, and they were doing their boy thing. Like, they were totally, like, talking about guns and, like, whatever. And me and Christina were having a margarita and just hanging out, waiting for the car to come. And then we went to the airport. The fun began in the beginning of the video on the YouTube, if you watch it, of me and Christina taking shots on the private jet. If you look around, Dan wasn't even there. Like, he was in the back. I think he was in the bathroom, but Jay and the other guys and another couple girls were in the jet as well. And if you've seen, me and Christina kind of had the front, they had the back. We didn't know them. They had just flown from Vegas, and we didn't know the girls. I didn't know Jay at the time or any of them. And they were kind of playing card games and doing whatever. And me and Christina were getting we were excited. I had been on a private jet, but I had never, flown done something like that. And the whole reason we went was because of the simple fact that Dan had just got $10 million wired into his bank account because he had won a poker bet. And that's also public information. Go look it up. I really don't care what people say about me or Dan, but I'm just here to kind of clear the air. So, that's what happened. That's why he got the private jet, and that's why we went to Mexico. He did not pay me. He did not pay any of the girls to go, that to my knowledge. We were not hookers. We were not forced to do anything. None of us were asked to have sex with any of the men or with each other or be naked or do anything like that. So I don't know why everyone's so anti, Dan. Yes, Dan portrays himself a certain way in the media. It's a publicity stunt. It's a way for him to gain and create fans and a buzz about himself. I don't blame him. That's the way he wants to be perceived. But don't bring me into it and say that I am a whore or a slut or any of the girls are prostitutes. He did not pay us to do that. Dan is so uninterested in drugs and alcohol and girls. Like, not in that way. I think he had a girlfriend back home. He was very faithful to that girl. She was somewhere else. She didn't even get to come with us. So none of us were Dan's girlfriends or anything like that. Anyways, the reason the video was so boring, as some of you say, I do admit that it is kind of boring, but it's because I didn't take my camera out with us when we were going ziplining. They told us we couldn't use the camera in a lot of different places when we were out on the zipline tour, especially, for example. But I do have pictures of the zipline on all of us girls, and you can see how happy we are, and Dan in the middle, and he looks very happy, and you can see, and I'll put the pictures at the end of this video, and yes, we did all get monkeys and lions and stuff, but if you notice, we had obviously all been on our phones after, because we had the lions and the monkeys there for like 2 hours, so we were... After about 10 minutes, it's just kind of like, okay, we'd seen the lions, we gotten scratched, I had gotten bit on the arm by one. So we bring out our phones, and then that's when we took the pictures. It may look like we were bored on the video, and it may look like we were on our phones a lot, but the only time I remembered to take any video was during those times because we were having so much fun. So it was pretty much the best trip I had ever been on to date. And I've been in over 30 countries, been on private jets, and partied with all kinds of celebrities. So please don't try to tell me that it wasn't fun because you weren't there. Other than that, we went into the city. We went many times. I mean, we went ziplining, we did all that stuff, and we were only there for 3 days. So in those 3 days, we did a massive amount. Like, we had a zoo come to the house. We went out on the town, and we had some tequila shots and stuff, but nobody got super wasted. Like, wasn't the point of the trip, was to go and get fucked up. We swam, we bathed, we took pictures and stuff. Go on any of the Instagrams or Facebooks of any of the girls that win, and you can see that their lives are very fun, and Dan didn't know any of the girls except Christina and I that were personally invited on that jet. And the other girls were brought by Jay and the other guys that are poker players professionally from Vegas that were his friends. He told them that they could also bring a few girls because there was only like 8 of us that could fit on that jet. And the rest of all the other girls and everyone flew in coach or first class from Vegas and other parts of the country to meet us there. So in total, there was like 20 of us in this house. We all had our own bedrooms, by the way. I had my own bed. Some of the girls shared because we had multiple beds in some rooms, but there was like 10 bedrooms in that place. If you see the video, you can see just on the top floor how big it was. We all shared dinner at the same table, and we all ate together, and we all got to know each other, and it was really, really fun. And yes, we had everything we could ever ask for because Dan is really rich, and it was really fun, but we kept it professional. I'm still friends with him, and I wish him the best in all of his endeavors. And you know, there's just some things that bother me, and I hope that this will kind of explain a little bit. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer them. But I went back to my happy boyfriend, and he was happy, and I showed him the videos and the pictures, and you know, he met Dan, and he invited us over several other times after that. Dan is a very nice guy, and yes, he has a lot of money, and yes, he has a lot of women around him, and yes, he parties and whatever with porn stars or whoever, but that's his business, and that isn't what I am or who I am represented by or what I represent or anything like that. So that's my say on that one. So happy watching, and see you soon. Bye.